Greetings and welcome to another episode of Pinball Stories. And in this episode, I am talking about this Twilight Zone, my Twilight Zone game that I've had for many, many, many years. And there's some special things about this game, and I'll talk about them. The reason why I'm compelled to do a story is because I might finally be selling this. I go through phases where I need some money, and this is such a sought-after game that I tend to put it up for sale. And when people start asking too many questions and want too many pictures, I start looking at the game and taking more pictures and going, yeah, I don't want to sell it. So it sticks around a lot longer. But I really do love this game. And let's talk about it. So Twilight Zone, Pat Lawler's probably his opus magnum when he worked for Bally Williams. This was one of the highest regarded, highest rated pinball machines of all time. For most of the whole pinball world since it came out, it was always ranked in the top 10, if not number one. Of course, now with all of the modern games with so much more functionality, Twilight Zone doesn't get as much love as it used to, but it's still highly regarded as one of the greatest machines of all time and one of the highest production pinball machines of all time, along with Addams Family and Twilight Zone. These were the two games I think that the most were produced, and they've held their value very, very well. This is also a game that has not been remade. Cactus Canyon, Attack from Mars, Medieval Madness. They've all been remade now. This is one of the games that hasn't, presumably because this probably had the highest bill of materials of any game that was ever made. Very expensive cost to produce with lots of little gimmicks and gadgets and stuff in here. And I won't go into the operation of the game. Anybody who's really into pinball pretty much knows it, but I will talk about a few basic things. It's got an actual working clock. I have it currently disabled right now just to make the game a little bit, just so I don't put any undue wear on the clock, but it actually will show the time on it. It has a Midnight Madness mode where if you're playing the game when midnight hits, it goes into a special mode. It has magnets over here where you can control with the flippers. It's got a gumball machine that's a ball lock. It's got other magnets all over the place and subways going every which way, a built-in slot machine, 4 flippers plus these 2 magnetic flippers. There's just a ton of stuff going on, and it's got a very deep rule set. So this particular game, let me talk about how I came into this. Obviously, anybody who's collecting pinball in the early years, there's a couple of games that are like the Holy Grail games. Twilight Zone is one of them. And, we all dream of coming across this game in the wild for a good price. And that's kind of what happened to me. I saw something, I don't know if it was on Craigslist, probably on Craigslist. In a nearby state, somebody had one of these. And I zipped out there to go look at it. And it was this woman who, it was sitting in her living room, and it had been sitting in the living room since it was new. And if you look, you'll see the some fading on the red, which is kind of very common on these games. The reds would always turn light. But this game has never been operated. Now, I know what you're saying. I know people say, everybody says they've got a home use only game, especially with the Twilight Zone. It's absurd that there's actually such a thing. But I kid you not, when I saw this game, I was blown away. And the story is, this woman's husband was an operator, and Twilight Zone was her favorite TV show. And when they got married, he gave this game to her brand new as a wedding present. So it stayed in their home and was never operated. And you can look at the game and you can see there's signs that this thing has had very, very little play. So first off, look at the behind the back blocks. Now, I put LEDs in here when I first got this game many years ago, and I use kind of cheap LEDs that have started to fade by now. But you'll notice there's no burn-in from incandescent bulbs, from the dust on the incandescent bulbs. It's almost unheard of to see a back box where you don't see little black wisps above every light. And that's what happens when you run it on location with traditional bulbs in it, which is what it came with. This game is super duper duper clean. And let's take a few more looks at it. Oops, I'm leaning on something. So everything is original in the game. I did recap some things, like this is a recap thing. I took the battery pack off and added a remote battery pack. But other than that, this game is all original. It has the original display. Obviously, this would be a great candidate to update it to a color LCD display. But the game is basically almost all original with a few basic upgrades that just improve the functionality and reliability of the game. So when I saw this game, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm interested. And I'm like, how much do you want for it? And she said, what do you think it's worth? And I'm like, I don't know. At the time, she didn't have a key for it, so I couldn't get into the back box. I couldn't even tell if the boards were complete in there or if the battery had barfed all over the board. So I started to tell her, I really don't know. I don't know. I'm interested in the game and I'm willing to buy it as is, but without being able to get into the head and take a look at it and get into the cabinet, I don't know how much of it was work. We plugged it in and it wouldn't boot up at all. It was dead. So I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't even know if the game is complete. So I threw $2,500 at her and she said, okay. So I got this thing for $2,500 and I didn't know at the time, and this was years ago. This is probably 20 years ago. It was quite a long time. So don't think, these deals will pop up now. It was pretty rare back then. So I took the game home. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to find once I got into it. I had to drill out the locks. And what I discovered was the game was just super duper clean, just pristine. And if we look at this playfield, there's nowhere anywhere, even in the shooter lane, nowhere. I added cliffies around the slot machine. There's not one on the piano, so you can see how clean the piano is. There's nowhere whatsoever on the piano. And there's nowhere hardly anywhere else. You can see nowhere there, nowhere. All these holes where the balls throw out, it's super duper clean. And I took pictures before I put this Cliffy protector in, and it's super duper clean underneath that. So this game really truly was a home use only. And let's take another look. So another telltale giveaway of whether a game has been operated is when you look underneath the lockdown bar. So if we look underneath the lockdown bar here, we can see there's one tiny little stain right there, but this is all just completely clean. It's really dusty, but you can see it's very unheard of not see all kinds of spills from drinks and stuff. This game it's definitely dirty for sure. Because I kind of rushed over here to do this video because I might be selling it today. Somebody finally said they were interested and they're going to come out to look. So we'll see. So you can see the coin mechs. They're all super duper clean. The inside of the game is just really, really nice and clean. There's no... It's dusty, but everything... What's interesting about this game is it literally does play like it's brand new. It has that kind of snappiness to the flippers that you get from a new game. It's just really, really cool. And so ever since I've had the game, I've been somewhat protective of it. I keep it over here in the corner of my arcade, and I usually have this computer thing just moved right in front of it so nobody will play it, just because it is such a unique game, such a highly sought after game that also is in such amazing condition. Now, there is one little plastic that's broken right there. I got it and it had that thing there, so it must have broken from the original owner. That's the only thing that I can tell that's off in the game, and that's probably easily replaced. As you can see, it's just super duper clean. So I've kind of not wanted to really run it, even though this is obviously a great game to put on location. So let's talk about something else about this game. This particular game has a version of the ROMs, which is an infamous version of the ROMs named 9.4CH. So many years ago, there was a couple of maybe ex-Williams programmers that started making modded versions of the ROMs for certain games, adding a few extra features and stuff like that. And they made a version called 9.4H, I think, or 9.4B or something. I forget about it. But they added a way to get to the wizard mode, so that if you held this button down once the game started and you heard a sound, it enabled this thing that the next time you shot the piano or the slot machine, it would immediately go to wizard mode, and it would give you this free 6-ball multi-ball Lost in the Zone mode so you could play it. Then it would reset everything for the next ball. It was a really cool little way so you could get to the wizard mode if you wanted to. Now modern games have that kind of feature already in a lot of the Sterns, but this was pretty revolutionary back then. But what they did when they modded it was they removed the ability for this thing to accept coins. So you couldn't put it on location with some of these newer features. Many of us in the community thought, what difference does it make? But so somebody modified that version and re-enabled it to take coins, and that pissed off the original developers, and then they stopped doing modifications, which I think is kind of sad. I mean, it's not, I don't see what difference it really made. If somebody else mods it, somebody else mods it, But anyway, that stopped this flow of updated ROMs, and this is the infamous version that has all the features, but also has the coin door enabled. So if you wanted to operate it, you could operate it. You can also disable the Lost in the Zone feature. And I think there was a couple of other features that this special ROM did. And it's just, it's a really great game. It's very, very deep. It's somewhat linear, but it's definitely a lot of fun. And it has the power ball, this ceramic ball there, which is about 33% lighter than a regular pinball, maybe even more. And it goes like twice as fast around the playfield. It's crazy fast. Very, very interesting, unique feature. There's a lot of talk. You see people will take these ceramic power balls and put them in other machines. They're just always crazy to see. It's the same size as a pinball, but it's a bit lighter. This game can sense when the power ball is in play, and it goes into a special mode, and it's really, really neat. So a very, very fun game, and this is a uniquely clean version of the game that I really hate to get rid of, and maybe I won't, but it's getting to the point where, times are a little bit tough, need a little bit of money, and I'm planning on selling this for $8,000, which is, I think, a very good price given I've seen these go for $12,000 or higher and not in as good a condition as this. I probably could get more for it, but the market is kind of down, right now. So I'm going to see if I can. And again, I might change my mind about this. I love this machine, but if somebody else really appreciates it, and this is somebody who's been wanting one of these for a long, long, long time. So we'll see. In any case, this machine will continue to be loved by somebody else, and I will pass it on. And I did put a lot of LEDs in it and do some stuff like that, but for the most part, it's all original, and this should be a fun game. If you ever played it, you know what I'm talking about. So thanks for listening to my pinball story, my amazing Grail pickup. This was like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, finding one of these at a really good price. And I'll probably, that'll never happen again. But cool, huh? Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to visit pinballhelp.com and subscribe.